We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange today.
Attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again, but it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you,
hi and welcome along to another episode of Those Were the Days on NUFC Matters with War George. How are you, George?
Fine, Steve, thank you.
And what season are you taking us back to?
2006, 2007, and we're into the Ashley era, aren't we? It's good to be back because it's a while since we did one. 2006, 2007, and as usual, I've looked at what things was happening outside of football. Top of the Pops, When I'm Gone, Eminem, See the Day, Girls Aloud. Now that's appropriate because they're in Newcastle at the moment, aren't they? And Goodbye My Lover, James Blunt, George Best, a Tribute, Brian Kennedy and Peter Curry, and Munich by the Editors. Now, there's some music there which I liked and so much I'll not miss, but still very, very, very interesting. And at the cinema marathon, the pictures, as we call it, or still call it up here, top of the poll was The Prestige. Not a picture I saw. It was Christopher Nolan picture. Hugh Jackman and Scarlett Johansson were the stars. Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest, not a one I've seen. The Departed, yes, I've seen The Departed, good film. And the Mission Impossible 3, not one of my favourites. And then back to a real favourite, that's Casino Royale, James Bond, which was, I think, was the beginning of Daniel Craig, I think. So, some interesting things happening outside. But
and heading into the Ashley era at the end of this season, of course, because Freddie Shepherd's last season in charge, this one.
Yes. And, there was changes afoot with people like Chris Mort coming in and being chairman and all this sort of thing. It was... was at the,
so that was in June at the end of the season, yeah.
So anyway, here we go. As always, there's friendlies, but there was more than friendlies this season because they combined the Intertoto Cup with the UEFA Cup, and so we were heavily involved in that. So the first few games were actually involved in that with Lillestrøm. I think there's a couple of pictures on there of the program and of the game, one of the games, and then we played a friendly against Norwich and a friendly against, that's the Lillestrøm picture, yes. And actually, when I saw that action picture, I remembered how much I liked that blue strip. I don't know why, but it's funny how things come back to you when you haven't seen them for a while. And I thought that looks quite smart. Anyway, we then played Norwich, PSV, Villarreal in friendlies. And then we played another UEFA round with Ventus Splits. And then we had our first league game with Wigan at home. We had a home game against Wigan, yes. Which, and even the early rounds of the UEFA Cup were getting 30 and 40,000, which is way above what people elsewhere were getting. I mean, when we went back to Lillestrøm, they only had about 6,000 in the ground, and apparently that was big for them, but not big for us. Then we played Wigan at home as our first league game, and it got off to an interesting start. And the teams was evolving itself, and it was it was great. A good start to get a win on the board, as was what I was struggling to say, as usual, and Wigan gave us that good start. Having had good games against people like Villarreal and some of them as friendlies, it was quite nice to see some English football. But again, the attendance was nearly full. 52,000, which Wigan on the top of the branch, the top of the tree side. But anyway, we started, and interesting side, of course, put out with Given, Carr, Bramble, Moore being the Australian lad, Babiaro, Solano, Parker, Emre, the Turkish lad, Duff, Milner, and Martins, and quite a mixture in that side, I thought, of the players with different styles and all the rest of it. And anyway, it got off to a 2-1 win with Scott Parker and Shola scoring the goals and McCulloch scoring for Wigan, and that was a good kick-off for our season. The next game was a return match with Ventus Splits, and sorry, they came to here. When we went there, they struggled to 6,000 there was then. When they came here, we had 32,000, which is something. But they give an account of themselves. We won 1-0 away, but they drew 0-0 at St James's, which wasn't bad at all for them. But kept us on the path to making progress in the UEFA Cup. The next game was a away game in the league against Aston Villa. At that time, one of the up-and-coming teams that people were thinking were going to set the league on fire. And it was an unchanged team for us. There was slight change on the bench with Harper, and Harper staying as the goalkeeping sub, but Ryan Taylor came on instead of Luque. And Aston Villa, interesting football team. Sorensen, Hughes, Melberg, Ridgewell, Whittingham, Davis, McCann, Barry, Moore, Angel, Agbon, Lahore, who's the commentator on Talk Sport that clearly doesn't like Newcastle. He's entitled to an opinion. It's just one that we don't like. And the other thing I find interesting on that side is that Gareth Barry, was still a headliner with Aston Villa and went on to play, I think it's something over 700 games. Incredible career he had. So, we went there. It was a disappointing game for us. It was a bit of a bit of a kicking match as well. Emery and Parker got to book for us, and Barry and Agbon Lahore for them. Where the ill feeling came from, I don't know, but and I love the writer of these things who always comments on the conditions, and he says the conditions in this one were sunshine and pain. I presume he means the pain's the two now loss, but it was a game. To be honest, it was pain because it was a game we were never really in. We lost 2-0. It could have been much. It could have been much worse. So we're sort of pegged back a little bit from our great start, and we then off to Fulham.
Is this Fulham at home, George?
Yes, sorry, we've got Fulham at St James's Park. Sorry, and they're a team that's, the pundits are saying that they're likely to go down, which isn't very encouraging for them. But it gives us some hope. We think, and the conditions are warm and sunny, and the crowd is 51,000. So they're supporting the team, but we 0-0 at half time. Fairly drab stuff, is my recollection, and on this September afternoon, and everything's going swimmingly at 54 minutes, and Scott Parker scores one of his few goals he scored for United, but he gets a good one in this one. He coming into the penalty area and he side foots the ball into the back of the net, and everybody thinks, well, at least we've got the points. Well, that's not how it works with Newcastle, unfortunately. Fulham had Boamote as a attacking forward, and he always seemed to have a good game against us. In fact, I think for a little while we toyed with the idea of buying him when certain managers were here. Another lad from African called Diop, who very good footballers. Well, they played their socks off. Nemi in goal was the Finnish goalkeeper. He played his socks off as well. And they came back with a bang, and on 82 minutes, McBride, the dangerous Scottish forward, scored. And then right on the final whistle, almost the last kick of the game, Bocanegra made it 2-1 Fulham. So we lost them a game which we all thought was in the bag because of Fulham's supposed demise were left. We're then next one is away to Tyne in the UEFA Cup, and the good side, given as good as they get, but should be enough to in our team to beat them. Licop Arena in Tyne, and 0-1 at half time because of a goal by Sibierski on 10 minutes, and it looks like we're going to get a good win. We'll take it forward to the next round, but the last 20 minutes that this team suddenly woke up and give us a hard time. So we really needed some good defending good goalkeeping from Given and some defending from Carr and Bramble, and young Peter Ramage on the left side of the defence was doing quite a nice job as well. But we get the 1-0 win and bring that 1-0 win back to Newcastle. So we're still in the UEFA Cup. Next game is a away game to West Ham United, and now contrast to the other games, people were saying, well, they should do this, we should do that. Well, people everybody just about. And that dog was saying, well, this is going to be a miserable trip to London because West Ham are playing their socks off. Well, guess what? It doesn't work out like that. Same team, given Carr, Moore, Ramage, Babiaro, Milner, Parker, Emery, Duff, Martins, and Amiobi. Sibierski on the bench, and an interesting game. Some good football from both sides. We went 0-0 at half time, and looking good value for the half time. In a hot day, as the commentator on here says, the conditions were sweltering. So that feels hot just saying it. We're playing well, playing absolutely super. So no surprise when on 50 minutes, our good friend Damien Duff strides in and makes it 1-0 and makes it look like the points are ours. And then just as we're settling down to accept the 1-0 win, along comes Obafemi Martins with one of these thunderballs from about 30-odd plus yards. Just hit it, and the goalkeeper didn't even move. It was in the back of the net. And so we got it to 2-0, and we held it without any problem. Unchanged team for us. West Ham, Carroll, Mears, Ferdinand, Gabidon, Konchesky, Bowyer, Mascherano, Rio Coker, Etherington, Tevez, Zamora, and of course anybody that was around then knows the Mascherano and Tevez saga, the two Argentinians that nobody was sure who owned them until they decided to own themselves at Liverpool, and that was the end of that. But it was one of those weird things in football. Everybody was wondering who owned these two players. Anyway, 2-0 away from home. Great addition to the league, securing what place in the upper half of the league. Next game is a little tougher though. It's another away game, but it's at Anfield and against Liverpool. No easy games there, and we're going and give them quite a game in the first half. It's not a walkover by any means. Unlucky goal on 29 minutes, but like Coyley, speculative shot, and because it hits Carr in the back of the head and leaves Steve Harper's in goal. Because Given picked up a knock, hits Carr on the back of the head, and Steve Harper can't even move. So they were unlucky to go in 1-0 down, and it looked like they were going to stay that way or even come back and get a point. They were playing so well, but then Xavi Alonso steps up, and with the help of Gerrard and Bellamy, makes our defence look very static, and it ends up 2-0, and that's how it stayed to the end. But it wasn't the sort of defeat that people were predicting, or pundits were predicting anyway, and so we come away with a loss, but not a hammering that some people would expect we might have. And the next game is a home game against Everton, the other Merseyside team, and it's dry and pleasant, says the reporter, on the 24th of September. And the team, unchanged: Harper, Carr, Bramble, Moore, Ramage, Milner, Parker, Emery, Nzogbia, Martins, and Amiobi. And substitutes Sibierski and Rossi. The Everton side, with one or two English internationals in: Howard, Hibbert, that's the American goalkeeper, Hibbert, Yobo, Lescott, Julian Lescott, Naismith, Osman, Neville, Phil Neville, Carsley, Arteta is a name we know very well now, Cahill, and Johnson. And Everton were being touted as a side for the future at this time, and the game played out like that. It was end-to-end stuff from the beginning, and it was no surprise when on 14 minutes, Shola Miobi put 1-0 in the lead. Then just before half-time, Tim Cahill, the centre-half, nods in a corner, and it's 1-1 when we go in at the break. But a good, entertaining game, and with full house, 51,500 in the ground for that, and rightly so, because it was a proper Premiership game of football. Now playing La Vida Tyne, the other side from Tyne, and conditions are comfortable, says the reporter, and we brought a 1-0 victory back with us, so this shouldn't be much of an effort, but they put up a quite good show, and with our side unchanged from the league game, and Yobafemi Martins, 47 minutes just after half time, scores the first, and then a couple of minutes later, bang, number 2, so we're 2-0 in the lead. And then on 70 minutes, Zelensky for them scores to make it 2-1. And suddenly we get all nervous, which is not unusual for Newcastle. But we see out the 2-1 will, which is a win, which was a 3-1 aggregate win, and keeps winning the UEFA Cup first round into the second round. The interesting thing is, of course, is that these are teams which had got it where they were because they were expecting to go into the Intertoto Cup as we were, but we're now actually progressing into the European competition proper, and that's great thing, great for the club and all the rest of it. So 2-1 win against Tyne, and we're through to the next round. The next game is not one that you want after any tough match, because this is even tougher. Manchester United at Old Trafford, and you know it's going to be tough before you even think about going. And unchanged side: Harper, Carr, Ramage, Moore, Milner, Bramble, Milner, Butt, Emery, or Butts in the side this time. Emery, Parker, Duff, and Amiobi, and give a good account of ourselves first half. It's we're doing very well, and it wasn't until just before half time that Schultz scored, breaks into the penalty area and side foots a loose ball in the back of the net, with the defenders all standing blaming each other. So we could do without that, but 1-0 at that stage wasn't too bad. Second half, we come out all guns blazing, and pressing them, only to be caught on the counter attack. And Schultz runs from the halfway line to slip the ball underneath Harper, and gives them 2-0. Again, it's another game where predictions where we were going to get hammered, but we didn't win, but we certainly didn't get hammered. We gave a good account of ourselves with an unchanged team. And the Manchester United team: Van der Sar, Neville, Ferdinand, Vidic, Heinz, Fletcher, Carrick, Scholes, Ronaldo, Rooney, and Solskjaer. And all stars then, which everybody knew, and certainly a side that would give any team in the Premiership a run for their money. We then move on to home game against Bolton Wanderers. Yeah, and 50,000 at the game, which is really good, and it's not a bad game. And Bolton aren't tearing up any trees, but playing good football. Well, playing good enough football to put us under pressure. Shola alleviates the pressure a little on 19 minutes with a penalty, and we go in at half time 1-0 up, and everybody thinks, well, it's a matter of formality now. It's the game's ours. Well, they hadn't banked on this awkward character called Diouf, who was always a pain in the backside and pain in our side, particularly when he played us. A very awkward but very talented player. And 55 minutes, he made it 1-1. And we weren't looking 2 minutes later when he made it 2-1. So Bolton went home with a 2-1 victory. Our side was unchanged. So the subs were different. Pavel Cernachuk came in as a sub. Sobieski did, and sat on the bench but didn't get used. And as I say, Bolton went away with a unexpected 2-1 victory, and we were left to lick our wounds. And we're sliding in the wrong way, is what I'm trying to say in the league with these sort of results. And never mind, we have to accept it and move on, as I say. And the next is a European group game against Fenerbahce, the Turkish side, at home. And interesting that this game has only 32,000 come to it, which is not what was happening at the other things. Anyway, 32,000 there. It's quite a nice game and good football. And the condition, says the reporter, stress relieving. Yeah, I wonder if he was stressed after the defeat, 2 defeats in a row, which sent us to the wrong end of the table. And it's a good football game, tidy game. And Anton Sobieski on 79 minutes settles the issue with a very good goal. And we take a 1-0 victory into the next game. And still playing an unchanged side with Harper and Carr. Shea Givens still not fit from his injury, but they're doing their best. The lads on the pitch, and including the goalkeeper. I mean, Steve Harper was the perpetual substitute, the perpetual reserve. And I think the other night on Amigos was, I think it might have been O'Neill said that anywhere else, Steve Harper, when he was playing the way he was, could actually have got into the England squad. He was playing so well, and I think that's true. I agree with that. However, he was a good servant to us. Next game is the Tyne Tees Derby, I still like to call it, but this time at the Riverside Stadium. And we're playing Middlesbrough. Good end-to-end stuff, typical local derby match. And crowd really, really up for it. 31,000 in the Riverside. And we send an unchanged team into the game, and they've got some quite interesting names in the side, and some that we know very well. Schwarzer, for example, the goalkeeper, who'd been at Fulham and all over. Davis Woodgate, of course, so we know. Potiers, Taylor Catamole is a name we know. Boo. Who come from down the road. To Middlesbrough. George Boateng was a very tidy player. Ewell, the big centre forward, big black lad, very cumbersome and very awkward, made life difficult for all defenders. Downing, who was playing for England at the time. Verduka, who was just gone there from us. And Yakubu, who was a very, very tidy player. End-to-end stuff, 0-0 half-time, going well. And looks like we're going to get the draw, but then on 85 minutes, Yakubu picks up a loose ball, and with one swish of his right foot, just leaves Steve Harper absolutely flat. Couldn't get anywhere near it, so it's a 1-0 loss on 22nd of October, when everybody was hoping that we might actually get a victory out of it.
Viduka was half decent then as well, but we eventually signed him, and we got the worst Mark Viduka. I think it's a pity because he was such a good player, George.
Well, he was an exceptional player, and the difficulty for me was we bought him when it looked like he'd been at the pies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
He never looked fit, not to me anyway. Never looked fit, but you're right, a very, very talented player wherever he went. And the next game's a home game against Portsmouth. Portsmouth are one of the teams that are being talked about as going out of the league, and so they come with no reputation. The trouble for us is we'd had that with Bolton and somebody else in the turn when Fulham, and the turn were over. So people approach this with a bit of caution. The crowd tells you this story. Oh, sorry, yes. I'm talking as though this is a league game. This is a cup game, isn't it? Yeah, it's the league cup. I'm trying to think what they called it. It wasn't Carabao then, or was it? No. Carling Cup. I couldn't think of the name there for a minute. The Carling Cup. So this should be a straightforward thing for, and it is. It was the crowd where I seen 30,000, so that's not a league game. But then I saw the pink thing in the corner, and that's cup, and it's the Carling Cup. That's the name I couldn't remember. God, that cup's been some names, hasn't it? They'll make their mind up one day. Anyway, unchanged side for us. Sorry, that's not quite true. Stephen Carr's injured, so Ryan Taylor fills in at right back. But then it's Babiaro, Moore, Bramble, Butt, Nzogua, Milner, Martins. Rossi comes in, the Italian laddie, and Solano. A tidy side for us. Portsmouth have decent sides. Some of them, people on the way out rather than on the way up. And some names we know, of course. James in goal, Paramore, O'Brien in the defence, Primus, Taylor, Thompson, Davis, Fernandez, Crangiar, Cole, and Luar. Luar is a name we know as well. And while they're playing tidy football, they really aren't in this game. It's Newcastle's game. However, it takes little 2 minutes after half time to get the first goal, scored by young Rossi. And then there's two brilliant goals by Nobby Solano. One almost direct from a corner, the first one in 53 minutes. And the second on 90 minutes is a cleverly floated ball from about 20 yards over the top of everybody, including the goalkeeper into the corner of the net. The sort of goal that Nobby Solano sometimes was the only one that could do. So we get through to the next round of the Carling Cup. And the next game is the Premiership game against Charlton Athletic. Again, another team that's not predicted to do much, but beware is the watchword for Newcastle. And the condition, says the reporter, mild, dry, and immensely frustrating. Well, it's immensely frustrating because it's a boring 0-0 draw. Charlton just came to pack the defence and spoil, and did it very successfully, and rely on breakaways for their two forwards, the two Brents, Marcus Brent and Darren Brent, who were very pacey and likely to break away. Unchanged team for us, except that Taylor's out, and because Carr's fit, he comes back in, and it's 48,000, not bad for with the visitors who aren't particularly good, but so predictable as a 0-0 the way they were playing, and they got what they came for, I suppose, and for that you give praise to them and their manager. But The team's interesting. The goalkeeper's a young man called Carson. Now, who was on the bench at the cup final for Manchester City as the reserve goalkeeper? The same Mr. Carson, who's now 40, I gather. But he was on his way up at this time of his career. And one or two of the names that we knew, Andy Fye had gone there, and the Brents, of course. And but it was quite clear from the start that they were defending at every part of the pitch from the kickoff. They weren't going to take a hiding. Also in that team on the bank was Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and Fortune, who they got from Manchester United. But a very boring and drab 0-0. It was, didn't do an awful lot for football or anybody else. And the next game is an away game at Palermo in Italy in the UEFA Cup, the group match, and a fantastic game. My memory is one which we played well. Palermo played well, but with all of the trappings of a Homer referee and all the things that went with it. But the big thing for us was the emergence of a goalkeeper, Tim Krul. My memory of this is the game that made Tim Krul. He was just unbeatable. I think at the end, the Italians couldn't believe that this young lad who there was another goal had kept them out, but he did very, very successfully. And I think, this really cemented Tim's career with us. I have a slight personal interest because in later years, I happened to do a lot of travelling to Europe and particularly Greece. And invariably, the university would book the cheapest tickets they could, which meant I had to go through Schiphol, which is an absolute pain. Anybody that knows Schiphol, it's murder. I mean, I've sat in passenger lounges, which were overrun with mice. Unbelievable. And when people complain, the staff were saying, "What's the matter? They're just mice," And you get some British lady saying, "Well, mice are not, if you were in England, they'd shut you down," and they would as well. But anyway, mice in Schiphol. And the reason I'm saying it is that, of course, because I went through Schiphol, if Tim was playing for one of the Dutch teams, under 23s or under 21s, or the big team, we sometimes shared the flight home and very quickly got to know the lad. And what a super guy he is! What a lovely guy! And it's interesting because now when we do you do your programs, you do the lucky ladies, and I think, God, I spent all those hours sitting with Tim Krul and never once asked for a picture. Never took a selfie. But I just wanted to recall what a lovely, lovely lad. But this game in Palermo really cemented his career. The other thing it did was that Albert Luque scored one of his rare goals, the Spaniard for Newcastle United. But nevertheless, we go through and we go through quite well.
So the next game, Sheffield United at home, George.
Yes, after the heroics in Palermo, we come home to something fairly mundane, a game against Sheffield United. But a game that Sheffield aren't being tipped to do anything special, but they're a hard-working side, got lots of very tough characters in their team, and they're not going to give a game away easily, and that's how it pans out. The reporter says about the conditions, perplexing. Well, I think it's perplexing because the whole world's saying that Sheffield United haven't got a chance. Well, come the day, come the Saturday, the 4th of November, they show they have got a chance. 0-0 at half-time with unchanged team: Harper, Moore, Bramble, Babiar, Milner, Parker, Butt, Nzogua, Rossi and Duff. And Sheffield, well, some characters in the team, and I think that's the difference. Some of these characters would fight hard. Kenny, the goalkeeper, has a reputation. Jagielka at centre-back, Ledgerwood, who'd been with Sheffield for a very long time, Alan Quinn, dangerous forward, and of course a young man called Gillespie in the forward line, and the big centre-forward called Hulse, who was always a nuisance to us as well. And so they're no big stars, but some very experienced players who knew how to play in the Premiership. And 0-0 at half time, it looked fairly secure. But then on 68 minutes, a big attacker, Webber, got his head on a corner, and it's 1-0 to Sheffield. And that's how it stayed. And the reporter says the conditions were perplexing. I didn't actually see this game, but I could imagine it would be perplexing when you're expecting to win and you don't even get anywhere near winning. So that's a bit, say, sad, putting it mildly. But that's part of the joys of being a Magpie, isn't it? The next game is Watford in the Carling Cup, and we go to Watford to Vicarage Road, 16,700 in the ground, and we head off with high hopes to go forward with an unchanged team: Hartmaker, Ramage, Taylor, Babiaro, all they're in there again. Watford with a team of mixture of big stars and young up and coming players, but some fascinating names. Stewart and Young and Francis in the back line. Spring, Buzar, Azaka and Henderson, Preston, all talented players, but really should be no match for ours. We get off with a great flying start with Subierski on 3 minutes, heading in from a corner. 69 minutes, Francis heads in it for Watford. It's in a similar situation. And then it's extra time. And we end up with Watford going ahead on 108 minutes. Shitu is the dangerous forward. And then 116 minutes with just very little time left to go. And Scott Parker rescues the game. And we get 2-2. And the conditions, according to the reporter, were unprecedented. I think he thinks we should have won and not got a draw. But never mind. We get the draw and live to fight another day. We then coming back to going off to Manchester for a game against Manchester City in the Premiership, and always good games against Manchester City. Seen some great football matches between the two sides. The interesting thing is not the heat in the games against City that there is against United. I find that quite interesting. Even now, when we play United, the fire in the supporters is incredible. Whereas with Manchester City, it's a little more sedate, I would say. I'm sure there's a reason for that, but maybe it's the water in one side, the Manchester's different than the water at the other side. So we go to City of Manchester Stadium, and everybody's biting the nails because City are playing very well, but excellent game. 0-0 at half time, and ends up the same. It's the 0-0, but not a boring one, and actually an entertaining one, because both teams played their socks off. Whole problem was neither could hit the onion bag with the ball. Unchanged side for us: Hartmaker, Taylor, Moore, Ramage, etc. And Manchester City, some interesting characters. Weaver, the goalkeeper, Richards Diston, who used to be with us, of course, Dunn, Richard Dunn, Thatcher, Trubisky, and a young man called Barton in midfield, who we might know. Renier, Sinclair, Dickov, and Vassell. Vassell they bought from Villa for a lot of money. Dickov, very small nuisance. Sometimes talk about players being wasps, always at you. Well, that was Dickov. He would never let the defender settle. You had to be on your toes the whole time. However, we got through the game and we had got a 0-0 draw, which kept this in a decent place in the Premiership, which is important to us. Next game is another away game at Arsenal, and it's Highbury. There's 60,000. Sorry, at the Emirates Stadium. That's at Highbury. The Emirates, that's showing me age. At the Emirates Stadium, so 60,000. They're giving us due accord with the support that they're giving the match because it's us, and that's great. The teams, Givens back in goal for us, otherwise no other changes. Arsenal with their all-stars, Lehmann, Ebu, Toure, Gallas, Clichy, Heeb, Fabregas, Baptista, Flamini, Van Persie, and Adebayor. A really, really talented group of players who are being predicted to take the league. Well, we give as good as we got, and we're pushing them hard. And then Idaya comes on as a substitute, and after a very short space of time, and he scores Benelli's first kick on half an hour. So we go in 1-0 at half time, but then Arsenal just hammer away in the second half, really give us the run around. But we hang on, and it's not till the 70th minute when Thierry Henry does one of these magic goals, running from the halfway line and beating everybody else on the field to slide it under the goalkeeper, under Given, and a 1-1 draw. A draw couldn't complain about because they outplayed us in the second half, but yet we still managed to hang on, which is quite gratifying against a superb team like Arsenal. Next game is another UEFA Cup game against Celta Vigo from Spain, and they one of Spain's up-and-coming sides, and we're going to give them a game, that's for sure. Interestingly, the crowd, although it's a home match, down to 25,000, which says what the fans think about the Carling Cup and how it's been messed about, I think. Anyway, it's a nice, tidy game of football, and the Celta Vigo shot us on 9 minutes. Where Coniobio scores a beautiful goal, and looks like we might struggle for a while. But then on 37 minutes, Sidierski makes it 1-1. And then on 86 minutes, a typical Ryan Taylor free kick makes it 2-1. And we go out 2-1 winners. And the conditions, according to the report, are placid. Probably because it's a nice draw. Nice, but a hard draw. The Celta Vigo weren't mugs. They played some really good football. So it was very a reasonable result, really. It was not one to be sniffed at. So they now got the home game against Portsmouth in the Premiership. And again, this is a team that's supposed to have no chance, but they always give a good account of themselves. And they do. First half, it's really tough. 0-0 at half time. And try as we might, we can't break the defence down. And it's not till 69 minutes when Anton Sobieski, who scored some nice, tidy goals for Newcastle, and this is one of them, took it upon himself to have a go from long range and manage to sit the ball in the back of the net, to everybody's great delight. So we get a 1-0, and that's how it stays. And we get those points, and that keeps us, sets us quite nicely above the middle of the league at that particular time. There's one or two names in that side, of course, which we know. Campbell's there, Loa, Carnu, who they've now got from Arsenal as well. So a tidy side, but just not good enough to bother us at that particular time. And the next game is a European UEFA Cup group game, stage 4 group game against Eintracht Frankfurt, one of the better German sides. But we go with an unchanged team, given back in goal now, and give as good a count as we can. And it's a 0-0, but it's not a drab 0-0. It's quite an entertaining 0-0 with the sales giving as good as we can get. And the one or two of the team are German internationals, Kohler, Hugel, Stret, in the current German team, so that they're no slouches, but a good result for us away from home, 0-0 at Eintracht and Frankfurt. The next game is a home game against Reading in the Premiership. Reading, another of the teams that are below the middle and not being expected to do very much, but reputation for playing attractive football. And this is Wednesday, the 6th of December, and the commentator says the conditions were dry and chilly. And probably right. If I remember this, it was a very, very cold night. End-to-end stuff in the first half. Reading playing some really, really attractive football, and surprise us with Sobieski scores on 23 minutes, then 37 minutes Harper scores for them. Then on 42 minutes, just almost the last kick of the first half, Harper makes it 2-1. And it's not till right up to the 85th minute that, 57th minute, Martin scores a penalty. Then the 85th minute, Emre, the Turkish lad for us, scores the winner 3-2. But a very, very entertaining game. And again, from a side that the pundits would have us believe have no chance, yet playing some really, really attractive football. A good game, an entertaining game. The next game is an away game at Blackburn Rovers. And Blackburn, middle of the table as we are, but playing some tidy football, and it's an entertaining game. It looks like we're going to run away with it, because on 31 minutes and 35 minutes, Martins and Taylor puts us 2-0 in the lead at half time. And people think, wow, this is going to be okay. But Blackburn's Scandinavian Pedersen, just straight after half time, nearly his first kick after half time, makes it 2-1, and we get a bit of a sweat on. And then it's a hard-fought battle. Then on 93 minutes, it says on here, well into injury time, Obafemi Martins just almost lazing, I said, about the penalty area. Anyway, the ball dropped to him, and he didn't even look. He just wellied it with his right foot, and it hit the bar and went in, nearly smashed the bar. It was so hard, but we end up with a 3-1 victory, which is great and starts pushing us up to the right end of the league. Next game is an away game to Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Not an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. 42,000 at the game. And first half will give as good as we got. We've put some pressure on Chelsea, and they have to us. Debut for us in the team is young Huntington, the defender who comes in because of injuries, and it's quite a good game. And Chelsea, of course, with all the stars: Hilario, the goalkeeper; Jeremy, Carvalho, John Terry, Ashley Cole, Ballack, Essen, Lampard, Wright Phillips, Callow, and Robin. Some forwards there to conjure with. Anyway, we managed to keep them out until right towards the last quarter of the game, when Chelsea have a substitute. They take Wright Phillips off and put a young man called Didier Drogba on, and he started to make his career. He scored a cracking goal minutes after he came on, and sent us home with a 1-0 loss, which was a bit disappointing because we played quite well, really. The next.
We're going to have a quick break after this now, George. We're going to have a quick break for the ads.
A big thanks to all our sponsors: Skips and Bins, telephone 0800 25 45 25 3, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website skipsandbins.com, easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. Their website, mrvickies.co.uk, telephone 01768 210 102, or email info@mrvickies.co.uk. Thanks to United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com, email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com, telephone 01670 632 460, or mobile 0791 666 4174. Thanks to Media Arts for the technical side of things. And you can also find us as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. You can subscribe to the channel by hitting the subscribe button underneath this video. Hit the all notifications bell so you don't miss a show. Hit the thumb up to like the channel, and click share to share to your social media. If you want to join the channel, then click join for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become a member, for a one-off £25 payment, email john@nufcmatters.com or go to membership at the website nufcmatters.com. If you've got a smartphone, hold your camera over the QR code and it'll take you straight there. We also help the food bank on this channel. Go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk to the matchday bucket and you can leave a virtual donation today.
And don't forget, the end of season 2, which takes place at the Tyneside Irish Centre, is on 20th of July. Supermac and Gibbo and George and the Long Sands on stage in aid of Dementia Matters. Tickets available from nufcmatters.com or newcastlelegends.com, priced at £10. And Robley and Gibbo will be at the City Hall in Newcastle on Friday, the 2nd of August. Tickets are starting at £10 on voucher or £15 from Ticketmaster, and that is ticketmaster.co.uk. Friday the 2nd of August, Robley and Gibbo at the City Hall. So, George, we finished the first half of the show with Chelsea away. Where are we going next?
Yeah, and to remind people that Chelsea away was us getting knocked out of the Carling Cup.
League Cup. Yeah.
The League Cup, yeah, that's right. And as I say, the goal that scored was by Drogba. And I remember being at the game and how the fans gasped when he scored that goal because it was superb, and you could see he was going to be a handful. And so we're now just about concentrating on the league, and we're off to we've got Tottenham rather at St James's Park on the Saturday the 23rd of December. A chilly, dry but very enjoyable day, says the reporter. Well, when you get a result like we did, it was an enjoyable day. It was a good game, entertaining game. Tottenham playing well, and Tottenham being regarded as a very, very good side, a side that might do things. But we're giving as good as we get, and get out to a flying start. 3 minutes, Kieran Dyer scores a nice little goal. 7 minutes, Obafemi Martins, a pile driver from a volley from a corner, and then an own goal by Ryan Taylor just brings Spurs back into it. But to be honest, they're not looking as though they're going to trouble us too much. And lo and behold, on 35 minutes, Scott Parker scores another of his rare goals to make it 3-1. So we go in 3-1 at half time, thinking that perhaps there'll be a goal fest in the second half. Well, Tottenham rallied and made it difficult for us, but we never looked like we're going to lose anything in this one. Almost unchanged team, given Solano, Huntington, Taylor, Ramage, Parker, Butt, Emery, Milner, Martins and Dyer. And for Tottenham, Robinson, their big goalkeeper, Lee, King, Ledley King, Dawson, Chimbonda, Murphy, Huddleston, Zakora, Gully, Berbatov and Malbranc. And a tidy football side, but just not at the races with us in this one. We worthy 3-1 winners. We're never going to look like we're going to lose that. And the next game is an away game to Bolton Wanderers. Bolton at this stage are fighting for their lives, so it's not easy. It's never easy at Bolton anyway. But we go with an unchanged team, and in the hope that we might get something out of this game. And lo and behold, 8 minutes into the game, we think we're going to, when Kieran Dyer slots in a goal on 8 minutes and gives us the lead. And it's going very well. Then in 32 minutes, a really bad mistake by young Peter Ramage. Thought he was back passing to Pavel Srnicek, and he was back passing to nobody because Pav was somewhere else in the goal, and the ball just trickled over the line. So that was 1-1. And we fought hard, but so did Bolton. And one of their stars, one of their errant stars, I should say, because they had a few at that time, Nicholas Anelka scored an outrageous goal to make it 2-1 to Bolton. And our side almost unchanged, except Pav's in goal now. Bolton, Jaskalaiten, Hunt, Mitty, Farry, Ben Helm, Nolan. The Nolan is the Nolan we know. Campo, Speed, and that's the speed that we get to know. Diouf, Anelka, and Davis. Now, Anelka and Diouf caused a great deal of trouble, and Davis, of course, was the big bustling centre forward, caused people trouble anyway. 2-1 loss, which was sad, but not entirely unexpected because of the way that they had been playing and we were playing. 27,000 at the game, but pulls us just down below the middle of the league where we don't want to be. So we're now away to Everton, and it's a game we should get something out of, but we're just not in it. Unchanged team, and Everton just tear apart from the kickoff. They get a goal in 9 minutes from Anchabibi, and Neville gets one just after half time, and the centre forward gets his second, and 3-0. Could have been more. 38,000 at the game, but it's a match we really weren't in, which was quite disappointing because Upland End we'd been doing quite well. So then we come home for January the 1st, New Year's Day, to a home game against Manchester United. We know this isn't going to be easy either, but we give it a go, is the best way to describe it. Within 33 minutes, Milner scores. 40 minutes, Scholes scores for Manchester United. And then he scores a just first kick after half time to make it 2-1 to them. And then we really have a go at them. And young Edgar, who's a young defender who'd been
had been debuted in this game. Got a header from a corner to make it 2-2. So an entertaining game and a really decent result for us, considering how poorly we'd played at Everton. And the Manchester team, since the last time we played them, has changed dramatically. As they've got Giggs, they've got Rooney back, Saha's back, Fletcher, Evra's in the team again. So a team of all stars, but we give as good as we got, and that was great. With a full house, 52,000 at the game, as the usual would be with Manchester United. And the next game is the cup game against Birmingham, FA Cup third round, and Birmingham shouldn't be that much of a trouble to us, but anyway, that we've said that before in the third round of the FA Cup. Go to St Andrews, very wet night, very wet indeed. Full team: Gibbons, Solano, Huntington, Taylor, Edgar, Milner, Dyer, Butt, Pattinson, Sibierski and Martins. Birmingham City: Mark Taylor, Kelly, Jaddy Upson, who they bought from Everton, Sadler, Larson, Johnson, Mumba, McSheffrey, Bentender, Tentner, and Campbell. Campbell's was always a dangerous centre forward with Everton and proven to be with Birmingham, but shouldn't be a trouble to us that much. We go down on 15 minutes to a Campbell goal, and then right before half time, Ryan Taylor slots in a free kick, 1-1. Second half, Kieran Dyer looks like he's got it for us, 2-1. But then right at the death, Larson scores on 86 minutes to make it 2-2. So we then have to bite our nails and see what's going to happen in the replay if we're going to make progress. But quite depressing when it really is a team we should have been swiping out of the way. Now, our next game is an away game against Tottenham, who will be smartened because the way we beat them when they were up at St James's. Unchanged team for us, given Ramage, Taylor, Hunton, Pattinson, Solano, Milner, Dyer, Martins, and Sibierski. And then Spurs almost unchanged, except that from the previous game, Jermaine Defoe has been put in the centre forward in the line, and they got young Lennon as an attacking player as well, and they're a more attacking side now, so it's not going to be easy. Conditions at the according to the reporter is eventful. Well, eventful because it was an interesting game, and end-to-end stuff with quite a few goals, but eventful because it became a kicking match. And we had Ramage, Solano, Butt, and Huntington all booked, and Tottenham had Chimbonda, Berbatov, Malbrank, and Tanio all booked as well. Became a bit of a kicking match, is the best way to describe it. Anyway, we set off quite well, playing well, and then Jermaine Defoe does what he's good at, sneaks in and gives them a 1-0 lead at 14 minutes. But then young Huntington from a corner, big defender, gets a good header in to make it 1-1. And then it looks like that's how it's going to stay. Then 54 minutes, Dietmar Berbatov, really talented centre forward, dribbles his way through and makes it 2-1 to them. So it looks like we're in trouble. But then our own centre forward, Ebafami Martins, rattles in one of his thunderbolts, and we become 2-2. And then on 73 minutes, Nicky Butt scores one of his rare goals and gives it 3-2. And that's how it stayed. We never looked like losing it after that, and takes us nicely into a more secure position in the league than we had beforehand. We're now coming back for the return of the cup replay, and mild and bitter, he says, the reporter. Well, it was bitter, all right. It was a disaster. I can't remember being in a crowd at St James's that was as disappointed as this one. Maybe we should have foretold something was going to happen, because only 27,000 turned up for an FA Cup replay, and that's unusual. Anyway, long story short, it was an absolute disaster. They just took us to the cleaners. McSheffrey on 5 minutes, own goal by Solano just on half time. Ngotti just after half time made it 3. Larson made it 4, and Campbell made it 5. And in the middle there, James Milner got a consolation for us, so he lost to Birmingham 5-1. Now, I can't imagine what was said in the dressing room after that, but it was really a really dismal defeat. And end of the cup for Newcastle United, which is not the first time we've heard that. The next game is the home game with West Ham. It's horrible, wet night, and it's one which everybody's just absolutely saturated. But never mind. We set off with this game and got high hopes. Well, high hopes are not. Cole scores on 18 minutes. Martin Harewood, who briefly played for us, 22 minutes, and we're 2-0 down before half time. And just on the stroke of half time, Milner scores to make it 2-1. So at least we'll come out after half time with a chance. And we play like we've got a chance. And Naby Solano gets a penalty, steps up and takes it himself, and makes it 2-2 from what looked like was going to be a hammering for us. But we get 2-2. But it's another game where there was a lot of spite. 5 West Ham players booked: Carroll, Ferdinand, Daly, Sheringham. 4 of ours: Lugue, Martins, Milner, and Dyer. That tells the story of what it was like. The commentator has amusing commentary, saying that the prediction for this match was that Scott Parker would find one of his own players and perhaps point them in the right direction to the opposition net, and surprise everybody by finding a colleague with a forward pass. So clearly, this report has no fan of Scott Parker. I can't say I was myself, actually. He did too many circles, but the reporter's supposed to be telling us the conditions. What he's doing is actually commentating on the whole thing. Anyway, the next game is home game, another home game to Aston Villa, who always tough team to take on, and we a good game, and some entertaining football. Quite a mild night for 31st of January, but it's the game's going quite well. 5 minutes, Milner scores. 7 minutes, Dyer scores, and that's 2-1, 2-0. Then on 25 minutes, Young, who still plays for Everton, by the way, even though this is 2006, Young scores a beautiful goal, hammers something from the right to make it 2-1 at half time. But after the second half, Newcastle clearly don't want to give this lead away and don't hang on, they just go for it. And on almost the last kick of the game, Sudierski scores with a brilliant shot from the edge of the penalty area, giving a 3-1 win, which cements what position in the middle of the league. And we're now away to Fulham, and considering that they give us such a home game, this isn't going to be easy either. But and it's not. We're not really in the game. We're struggling from the kickoff to get into this game, and we're 0-0 at half time, and look at it be 0-0 really. But after half time, Helgason, the Icelandic player, scores. McBride, the Scottish lad, 73. So we're 2-0 down, and it looks like we're well and truly on our way to a defeat. Martins puts a bit of a smile on people's faces by getting a consolation goal right at the death, almost the last kick of the game, and we come away with a 2-1 loss, which is exactly the score that they had when they came to us at St James's Park. Next game is home game against Liverpool, highly regarded as one of the sides that might actually win this league. So we know it's going to be a tough game, and so it is. But we're given as good as we got, and the conditions cold, but a very, very wet pitch, and one that was nearly. The pitch was so bad it was nearly not played, which is unusual even at this time. And the reporter says that no snow, but 24 hours of rain had left the pitch sodden. The fixtures survived 2 pre-match inspections by the officials, who successfully, on one occasion, managed to bounce the ball. So the game was played. And actually, I think I know who writes these amusing comments, but I won't embarrass them by announcing on air. A good game, end-to-end stuff as usual with Liverpool and their all-star team: Renier, Finnan, Carragher, Arga, Risa, Pennant, Sissoko, Gerrard, Zenden, Bellamy, and Kite. And dream start for Bellamy, 6 minutes against us, and he puts them 1-0 in the lead. But we fight back, and on 26 minutes, Obafemi Martins equalises, and we're playing well in the second half when Nobby's dancing his way through the defence and gets chopped down by Carragher, and we get the penalty which Nobby takes, and suddenly we're 2-1 up, and we're never going to lose that when you see how they play. It was a good win, and they played well for it. Played absolutely brilliantly for it, and cemented where we are in the Premiership. The next game is against a Belgian team, Zulte Waregem, at the Jules Jotten Stadium in Ghent. Good Belgian side, but we know it's going to be a tough game. But they were never in it. It really was ours from the off. Tough at first half. It was 0-0 at half time, but still we should have been ahead. It's 47 minutes straight after that half time. An own goal by one of their defenders gives us the lead. 59 minutes, Obafemi Martins takes a penalty and makes it 2-1. 69 minutes, Dahin, the centre forward, makes it 2-1. And Sibierski on 76 makes it 3-1 to Newcastle, which is a very, very good away win in Europe for us. And the return match with Zulte Waregem then is almost immediate on the flip next Thursday, the 22nd of February, and much closer game because they come with a different game plan to spoil and make life difficult for us. But they not difficult enough. They leave a hole which on 68 minutes, Obafemi Martins graciously accepts and hits the back of the net to give us a 1-0 victory. And our team's still virtually unchanged. Harper, Solano, Babiaro, Taylor, Bramble, Milner, Butt, Dyer, Duff, Luque, and Martins. The only one in that lot who was in and out was Albert Luque. Everybody else was virtually permanent. This Belgian side has got 1 or 2 stars in. Matisse, Meert, Dreschke, Sani, all international players, which is why they give us such a tough game. So we now going to the next game, which is a home league game against Wigan Athletic. Sorry, the away league game against Wigan Athletic. Who would give us a hard time in the first game of the season. Virtually unchanged, an unchanged team for us, and it's looking good. Wigan have added to that team. Heskey has come in, and Valencia come in from Manchester United, and they're looking quite good. And it's a reasonable game, but we can't get at them. We do everything we can, but we can't score a goal. But on a break in 40 minutes, they do, and Taylor scores their one and only goal, and it's a hard pill to swallow for Newcastle fans because we'd looked really well. But again, another match that towards the end descended into a kicking match, and I really can't see who was the cause of this, because they had 6-7 people booked in this game. Kamaros, Gogo, McCulloch, Baines, Taylor, Phelan, and Kilban, who's ex-Sunderland. And we had Parker and Butt booked. So whatever they had in that tea at half time, it didn't do them any good because they were kicking everything that moved. But a 1-0 loss, which really was a bit disappointing where they are and where we are. We should have been doing better than that. So we're now home to a match against our old neighbours down at Teesside. Middlesbrough come to St James's Park, and always good games. Schwarzer, Parnaby, Woodgate, Potiers, Taylor, Catamol, Boeing, Arca, Julio Arca, Downing, Viduka, Yakubu. And if anybody out there wants a reason to not like Julio Arca, he's the man that put Alan Shearer out of the game. So there's a good reason not to like him. He's the one that sat on Shearer's leg and knackered his knee. Unchanged side we've got at home, given Solano, Bramble, Taylor, but it's all the same. Very, very steady side we had in this season, and good game. But they could have played all afternoon and played another afternoon, and neither team would have scored. 0-0, and that's how it stayed right up to the end. It was disappointing for such quite a tidy football match for it to end up 0-0, but that's football, isn't it? You get the next one, it's rubbish, and end up with 5 goals each. We have a European experience next. Alkmaar is the next team we play in Europe, and they come to St James's Park with a good reputation, with quite a few internationals, Covermans, Martins, De Zeus, De Cley, Waterman, their goalkeeper, all top players in their country. and played for Holland. And we send our strongest side, and it looks like it's going great for us. 1 goal in 8 minutes for us. 22 minutes, Dyer scores. 23 minutes, Martins makes it 3. 31 minutes, they get one back. 37 minutes, Martins before half time scores another one, so it's 4-1 at half time. Everybody thinks, well, this is going to be a whitewash. No such luck. Alkmaar come out at half time and decide that they're going to take part in this game and score another goal, and so it ends up 4-2. Good victory for us, but one that could have been easier if we'd been a bit more careful. And so the return game. Excuse me, I'm going to pick some papers up. The return game is almost immediate. It was within a few days back at in Holland, and the DBS Stadium. And sadly, we forget to play. We go, and we're just not in the game. 2-0, 1-0 at half time, 2-0 at the end, and of course Alkmaar scored 2 at St James's through our carelessness. So on an aggregate of 4-4, they had the most away goals, which is how it went in those days, and they went through and we went out, which is disappointing when we played so very well in the other game, and we didn't perform in this one, which is very sad indeed. The next game is away to Charlton. Charlton, who tried to frustrate us at St James's Park when they came, and of course the front of their programme has a cheesy picture of Pardew, which is somebody we know. Again, we just didn't turn up. Good side, we said, strong side, but no, we're never going to win this one. And 2 goals from Zheng and Thomas in the second half, and Charlton get a 2-0 win. Really disappointing for Newcastle fans, because this is a game we really could have won, but we didn't actually turn up. We missed it. So our next game is a home game against Manchester City. It's going to be another good game, and as usual, and we do our best to give them have a good game, and it is a good game, but wherever we do, we just can't hit the back of the net at the moment, and the commentary of the of the commentator is, "Hazy sunshine, but a deep depression developed over St James's by tea time, because we lost 1-0 right at the death." Mapenza, the brilliant attacker, gets on the ball and scores a beautiful goal, and that's it. We lose a game that we should have got something out of. 1-0, very depressing. City side, some big names in: Ouna, Dunn, Diston, Ball, Barton, Haman, Johnson, Vassell, Mapenza. Really some talented players in there. Our side virtually unchanged through the season, with Martins, Dyer, Duff, Parker, Butt, Solano, Babiaro, Taylor, Moore, Carton given all involved, as there had been most of the year. Now, next game is away to Sheffield United. Game which all the pundits would have us believe all we've got to do is turn up and it's ours. Well, it wasn't quite like that, but we give ourselves a fighting chance from the off, with Obafemi Martins on 17 minutes scoring to give us a 1-0 half time. And Sheffield didn't look like they could break us down. And Given was playing out of his skin in any event. And It looked like we'd slipped up though on 74 minutes when Nade scored an equaliser, and everybody got quite depressed that it was going to give this game away. But we needn't to worry that Ryan Taylor, with a trusty free kick over the top of the wall, made it 2-1, and we came home with a 2-1 win. And well-deserved 2-1 win, and makes us more secure than we'd been for a while. So we now have a home game against the team that's setting the world on fire at the moment. That's Arsenal, and we need to be on our mettle with this Arsenal, because that played absolutely brilliantly. And according to the pundits, we might as well stay in the dressing room, because they're going to marmalise her, I think is the expression they used to use in those days. Well, it doesn't work out like that, because somebody forgot to tell the Newcastle team, who had a go at Arsenal from the off. I remember being at this game. It ended up 0-0, but it wasn't a drama, boring 0-0. It was really good football from both sides, and entertaining, with lots of talent on the field, of course, with people who are been internationals for years. I think, in my humble opinion, Arsenal missed Thierry Henry. He wasn't in the side for this game because he was injured, and he certainly would have made a difference. But we give as good as we got, and we got a 0-0 against Arsenal. Now, next one is the away leg of the away game of with Portsmouth. There's supposed to be no hope, as it always seems to have a good game against us. And same again, we go down on 7 minutes. Marawati scores, and then on 59 minutes, Taylor makes it 2-0. And it looks like that's how it's going to end until Emre gets pulled down in the area, stands up and takes the penalty and makes it 2-1. And then for the last 15 minutes anyway, we make Portsmouth sweat a little bit, but not enough to make any huge difference to the result. So a 2-1 loss at Portsmouth was very disappointing. The next game is a home game against Chelsea, who another side who are pushing hard at the top of the league, and an attractive side. The best thing you can say about it. But we give as good as we got, and 0-0 at half time. Bright conditions. Interesting names coming into the team: Peter Cech in goal, Vieira, Essien, Terry, Wayne Bridge, Wright Phillips, Makelele, Lampard, Balak, Drogba, and Kalou. Really, really talented side. But we matched them kick for kick and ended up with a 0-0. But an attractive 0-0. There was some real football being played. It wasn't drab or anything like that at all. It was far from it. And entertaining for anybody who was there. The next game is a away game at Reading. We'd hope to get something out of this, but Reading were waiting for us and gave us quite a hard time. And we lost 1-0. It could have been a lot worse. And it had salt of the wounds. Of course, their winner was scored by a man called Kitson, who we knew quite well. And it was very disappointing, because we didn't seem as though we turned. It was one of those games where we didn't seem as though we turned up to lose 1-0 at Reading. And next game is home to Blackburn, who I think every punter in the country and 50,000 people at St James's Park felt for sure we were going to win this one. There was nearly 52,000 in this game for St James's Park. but it doesn't always work like that. And Blackburn made sure it didn't. 14 minutes, McCarthy scores for them. 73 minutes, Roberts scores for them. And we never looked as like we're going to get a ball anywhere near the goal. We just aren't there, not at the races, is the only way to describe it. And Blackburn go home with a 2-0 victory, which they must have been laughing their heads at because they weren't supposed to have any chance at all. Well, it's all not a thing to think about at St James's Park, I have to say. Last match of the season, Watford versus Newcastle United. And at least on this one, we turned up and gave it a go. Dyer gives us a lead on 29 minutes. Watford have added to their squad the goalkeeper Foster, a name that we know. Williamson is somebody that we know is in the defence. Smith, King, Hoskins, all new players, but making quite a difference to Watford. Dyer scores on 29. Looks like we might get away with a 1-0 win, but on 52 minutes, King, who's defender turned attacker, gets a brilliant header to make it 1-1, and we end the season on a 1-1 draw. Not the best season. We finished 13th when just with a little more application in 1 or 2 games, we could have been much higher up the league than that. Premiership was won by Manchester United, which was predicted. Chelsea was 2nd, Liverpool 3rd, and Arsenal 4th. Tottenham 5th. Now, doesn't that read very familiar as a top 6? As a top 6, my goodness gracious, it was even happening then. Anyway, Manchester United walked it basically. They had 89 points, where Tottenham in 5th had 60 points. We were 13th with 43. And the goals for tally tells you why. 38 goals in a whole season. For goodness sake, we've had centre forwards who've scored that many themselves, never mind the whole team. So that's where the problem was. And of course, off the field, things were happening to the club, and as much that we were soon to be in the hands of one called Mike Ashley.
Yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a season for change, and I don't think that did us any good. You know, Scott Parker, first of all, taking over as Newcastle captain from the retired Alan Shearer. We lost all of those. We lost all of those goals. We made some interesting appointments, but we also got rid of people. Joe Joyce came in as the new academy manager that season. And Nigel Pearson was brought in as assistant manager. But then, obviously, when people come in, there's people go out. Kevin Bond was released from the coaching staff. Paul Winsper resigned as the fitness coach. And then, of course, in May, Glenn Roeder resigned as the manager, which meant that Nigel Pearson was named as the caretaker manager. Before Big Sam Allardyce was appointed as manager.
And we were short of goals, but when you look at who we let go, you know, Obafemi Martins, Sobieski was allowed to go.
Obafemi Martins arrived from Inter Milan that season. Sobieski came from Man City that season. But we lost a few, and I mean, bringing Pavel Cernicek back in, I think, you know, was seen as a positive at the time, but probably showed how low our stock had fallen. And I guess in the background as well, we had the battle for United, and of course, 23rd of May 2007, Mike Ashley became the largest shareholder in Newcastle United's history when he bought Sir John Hall's shares, 41.6% for 55 million, which is when he launched the official takeover bid, which of course will probably start the next one, George.
Absolutely. Interesting, all these ups and downs in the club, because you can see, not just in our club though, but as I say, I just read that top 6 out. It sends a shiver up your spine, doesn't it? We're talking 2006, 7, and here we are in the 2020s. and it's still the same 6 at the top.
I
One year or
wonder
another.
why. I wonder why. George,
Got to do something about that.
as always, mate, thanks so much for taking your time to do it. We will see you on the next one.
Oh,
Until then, take care, mate.
my pleasure, Stephen, and thanks everybody for watching. It really is kind of you. Thank you.